What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome to This Stinks, the last day of the year with 2 football games on it. He is Andrew Erickson. I am Matt Perrault. We are live on our YouTube channel for the AFC and NFC Championship game breakdowns. Thank you guys for being here. Andrew, this stinks. I hate when we get to this point in the season.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, I think. You know, from a content producing standpoint, it is nice that I can kind of look and focus on less games, but at the same time, it's going to be February, March, April. I'm going to be like, man, I wish football was on. And I'm going to be drawn into some spring football games. I'm going to see it on. I'm going to see the ads, be like, oh, should I start watching? But yeah, I think we got to enjoy it as it is. Got 2 great games on the slate in lieu for the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. So ready to break it down, man.
All right, let me ask you, how many teasers with the Eagles down to a pick and the Bills up to 8 are going to be in existence today? Because it feels like everyone's either doing that or moneyline Eagles, moneyline Chiefs.
I'm definitely on the money line side of things. That's the way early in the week, I was like, all right, well, what's the payout? Eagles money line, Chiefs money line. What can I get? I think it was like plus 130 or something along those lines. So I don't hate it. That's the side that I ultimately fall on. I think the Eagles win. I think that the Chiefs win. We've gotten a lot of parity, especially when it comes to the Commanders. But it's funny, Matt, when you talk about it, because if you just ask anyone on the street, right? Like, which underdog has a better chance? It's like a lot of people are like, oh, like the Commanders. Like, I like the Commanders to win. And then you look at the spread and it's 6 points. Like, you usually don't see that much confidence in an underdog basically favored by underdogs by a touch, basically a touchdown, right, versus the Chiefs and Bills, which is much more of a pick 'em, as the Bills are small underdogs on the road. So obviously we know the history between the Bills and the Chiefs. Commanders and Eagles, this is game 3, the rubber match. So these teams know each other, which I think is going to make those games just that much better.
Yeah, Chiefs Eagles, according to Sal, is plus 148 on DraftKings right now. That tells me that we're not getting that. Like when I see that, when I see the chalk, the obvious, the easy come up with nearly 1.5 to 1, where everyone's going to do this, that makes me go, huh, maybe we are going to see something unique here today. Maybe this is the Bills' day to come in and get a W. But before we get to the games itself, if you guys want your chance to score an autograph signed Dak Prescott Cowboys helmet for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to bettingpros.com/contest. Complete the form and either download the Betting Pros app, leave a review for a Betting Pros podcast, or subscribe to our social media channels at Betting Pros on X and TikTok. Yes, that still exists. And at Betting Pros NFL on Instagram. The more actions you complete, the more entries you will receive. We will be announcing the winner right here on this very YouTube channel. So make sure those notifications are turned on so you can be alerted when the new episodes go live, and we can make the announcement that you have won this helmet. Enter for free at bettingpros.com/contest. All right. There's a lot of things into this game to get into, but one of which is weather is not going to be a factor. Both of these games are going to be in cold, but nothing to worry about conditions. Philadelphia opened as a 5-point favorite. Number opened at 48. We're down to 47. DraftKings is now taking the lead here with the total down to 46.5. The number is 6, like we mentioned. I like 6. You like 6. Why do you like the Eagles to win and cover today?
Well, I'm looking at the trenches, right? Who has the advantage in the trenches? Is it the Eagles with arguably the best offensive line in the NFL against a already bad defensive line that cannot stop the run with the Commanders? That Deron Payne's not even playing in this game. Like, he was one of the best defensive linemen that they actually have on the team, and he's not even playing. And you also factor in the Commanders don't have their best offensive lineman. Samuel Cosmi, Torres. Like, those are the things that I'm looking at when I'm trying to handicap this game that I don't think the average bettor may be not looking at. They're looking at Jaden Daniels. That's all that matters, right? And most of the time, yes, you want to put the most responsibility on the quarterback. But in these playoff games where you're trying to find that edge, I think that looking at the battle in the trenches, it's so clearly in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. And if they're going to play smash mouth football, run the ball, and play defense, there's basically their recipe to win every single game that they've won this year. Everyone's knocking on Hurts. Does Hurts need to throw for 300 yards for them to win? To cover no, because he hasn't done that all year. So like, that's kind of the simplest way I'm looking at breaking down this game. And people will argue Daniels is the best offensive player playing in this game. What if it's Saquon Barkley? You know, he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. In a rare year where we had Derrick Henry rush for 2,000 yards, including the postseason game, you had Jamar Chase win the Triple Crown, crickets around these guys.
Right.
Because of Saquon Barkley and how elite and how special of a season he's had at the running back position. So I think that this is just another Saquon monster, insane game. Like the fact that his rushing prop is like 130 yards. I mean, that just tells you what we should expect from him on the ground against a defense that already couldn't stop the run. So those are the reasons why I like the Eagles playing at home. Good defense. The Commanders haven't played a good defense the last 2 weeks. Lions defense, Buccaneers defense. Come on. Eagles,
Right.
totally different stratosphere. So I know that he threw 5 touchdowns last time they played. A lot of it came in the fourth quarter, but Quinion Mitchell's going to be healthy. Jalen Carter's balling out. So that's why I like the Eagles.
One snap to you and your boys up in Canada. Hi, thank you for watching. We appreciate you guys being a part of this here today. Enjoy the games coming up here for today. He wanted to shout out in the chat. I think there's a couple of factors, and you pointed it out. The first one to me, though, is the stat that I can't get around, that teams that have played on the road for 4 consecutive weeks heading into the playoffs are 0-7 in the championship round straight up. They're also 1-5-1 ATS when they get to the 4th playoff game. We saw it with the Chargers, and I'm not saying that the Commanders are playing anywhere near what the Chargers are, but the Chargers played 3 straight road games heading to the Texans, and they look like a complete shell of themselves. I'm a Patriot fan. You're a Patriot fan. I'm older than you, so I remember when it happened in '86, and the Patriots were the first team to ever go on the road in 3 consecutive games. They went to Miami, they beat Dan Marino, and they stopped what was supposed to be the rematch in the Super Bowl between the Miami Dolphins and the Bears. Patriots went to the Super Bowl, and they got annihilated 45-10, but that was a game in the AFC Championship game where you saw a team was able to win again on the road, but it wasn't the way the game is played today. I think Daniels is going to have a hard time running the football. There's 2 prop bets that everybody is just jumping in on, and you've seen big movement here today. Barkley's rush prop opened at 130.5. It's down to 122.5. The reason is because everyone's like, wait a minute, that was the highest prop bet ever put up at DraftKings and other sports books. So we're seeing, just on principle, the pros coming down and saying, hey, you're going to give me 130.5 yards to play with. If Barkley runs for 110 yards, that's a really good day. He's run for big yardage because he's found a way to break the big one. If he doesn't break the big one, he might go for 110, 120 and go under that 130.5 pretty easily. So I don't know if he goes for a 65-yard run or a 70-yard run. He ran for 150 and 146 in the first 2 matchups. And now we're just assuming that the Commanders' defense is not going to key in and say anybody else except Saquon Barkley. I think that they're going to. And I also think that the Eagles defense is going to say anybody's going to run the ball except for Jaden Daniels. So I expect them to spy Jaden Daniels. It's one of my prop bets today. I think it's under 55.5 yards. Everyone's just saying like Daniels is going to be able to run the ball. I would be surprised if the Eagles get beat by Jaden Daniels and say, look, we just played this guy. Okay. We're not going to let him run on us the way he ran on us the last time. And yes, he threw for 5 touchdowns, but the Commanders turned the ball over 5 times in that game. These 4 teams, my favorite stat of all of this going into today, these 4 teams are 15-0 in the turnover margin. All 4 of these teams have yet to turn the football over here in the playoffs. It's no fluke that these are the final 4 teams here. The question I've got is, who turns the football over more, Washington or Philadelphia, Andrew?
I would say the quarterback that has to be more pressing, right? We all know that the Commanders can't win unless Jaden Daniels has a monster game. Like everybody knows that. But Jalen Hurts can do what he's been doing, hand the ball to Saquon, play good defense, don't turn the ball over, because that's what Hurts has been. Hurts has been that conservative quarterback this year. Yeah, he takes a lot of sacks, but he's not turning the ball over. So yes, the Commanders were opportunistic last week against the Lions. That's where they were generating turnovers. But that was against Jared Goff, like someone that we've seen in big moments kind of, I don't want to say turn back into a pumpkin, but, not necessarily he hasn't arrived. But Hurts has been in big games before, and he's played well. A couple years ago in the Super Bowl, he was the reason the Eagles had a chance at the end. Ultimately didn't work out, but I think that Hurts is kind of getting just overall disrespected just because of the way that the Eagles offense has been operating this year. It's not like this guy is like Jimmy Garoppolo, where he's like, oh right, yeah, they're just going to hand the ball. Like, he is way more capable than that. Now I get the knee thing. That is obviously concerning. We're probably going to see right away how healthy does he look running. That's why I think one of the interesting, if you're playing quarters prop or something like that, it's 5 rushing yards in the first quarter. Like, we're going to know right away whether his knee is good or not. Kind of like that, I think back to that Mahomes game in week 16, right? Everyone's freaking out about the ankle, and then he rushes for like a 25-yard touchdown in the first quarter. So I think we're going to know right away how his ankle or how his knee is doing. But yeah, those are the things that, and Daniels, to your point, 3 interceptions in 2 games against the Eagles. So yes, he knows all the weight is on his shoulders for them to win this game. And I think that he might make a couple more ill-advised throws than he probably should. And you've got these ball hawks across the secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, are we really expecting, if they're going to try to take away Terry McLaurin, that guys like Olamide Zaccheaus, Diami Brown, Zach Ertz, like, are these really going to be the major difference makers that get the Commanders to win this game? Like, I'm just really suspect about that. And I think that a takeaway from this game is going to be, man, what if the Commanders had actually landed Brandon Ayuk in the offseason? Like, we need to get him another weapon alongside Terry, because Diami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus, yes, it was fun while it lasted, but these guys aren't difference makers at the end of the day. We need to get him more weapons, and I think that's going to be a major takeaway if the Commanders ultimately fall short.
Yeah, I'm taking shots today because this is a Sunday, and then we have one game left after today. So I got some prop bets that are just sort of like, I'm taking shots. And the McLaurin prop is a shot because he has to hit a big one. The only way I'm going over 61.5 yards is McLaurin goes and gets a 40 or 50-yard catch. He makes incredible contested catches, like consistently one of the best making contested catches in the NFL. He's going to need to be on his best game today. He's going to need to make incredible plays today. And I'll be honest, I'm not 100% in on the Eagles being able to win this game the way they won the game in Philadelphia earlier. Because if it gets played out the way that it played out in Washington, that's a 36-33 game. That's a high-scoring, back-and-forth battle in which the Commanders got the ball last and won the game. I don't know if we're looking at that here in January in Philadelphia with the Eagle fans yelling and screaming. The first game is probably more likely how the game's going to play out, but that's why I'm pulling the teaser down and I'm going +8 for the Commanders, or sorry, +12 for the Commanders rather, and going over 41.5. Because if the Commanders are in the game, it's a correlated play. Over in the Commanders or under in Philadelphia. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I tuned to the Daily Juice early this morning while I was, prepping
that.
breakfast. And of course, like, that's one of the ones that really stuck out to me because one of my offseason bets was on the Eagles to win the NFC. So I have a ticket for that. So
good.
When you came to the Commanders, I was like, okay, like, this is an interesting way I can hedge a little bit here, because I agree with you. The Commanders are going to keep this close or win. It's because this game is going to go over the total. So that's kind of the way I'm approaching without just taking Commanders money line outright. That I like the Commanders +12 and over 41.5 for sure.
Because my worry, if I'm going to build the case for the Commanders, either cover 6 or cover 12, we saw it last week with Matthew Stafford, and we saw it just how quickly you can cause your team major problems if you fumble or turn the football over. If Jalen Hurts isn't right, he got sacked in the end zone for a safety because he couldn't move. If he can't move, if he cannot find a way to get on the edge, if that knee really is bad, and you mentioned it, we're going to find out very quickly. I think you're right. We're going to find out within the first 2 series whether or not Jalen Hurts can actually move. If he can't get to the edge, the read option's gone. So now it's just handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley. It makes that offense much more predictable and able to be stopped. But it also changes the way Jalen in the passing attack, because he can't roll to the outside. He can't move. So he can't get away from the pass rush. And so you allow, and I know there's banged up guys on that defensive line for the Commanders, but they still have had some linebackers and D linemen who have really stepped up in the playoffs, who have gotten after the quarterback and caused problems. Just ask Jared Goff. So I'm really curious to see how the Commanders are going to attack. If Jalen Hurts is a sitting duck, do they blitz more? Do they take more chances? And if they do, that's when turnovers can come. And look, ask any Eagle fan. They don't really trust Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Like, they kind of trust him. Like, they kind of trust him. They don't really trust him. It's not like they're going into this game going like, oh, man, we got our people. We're good. They're like, please don't screw this up. Like, please don't do this to us. Like, we're really going to be tough. Don't have a Nick Sirianni moment where you're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So to me, that's where I look at this game. And if it's going to be a Commander's Day, it's going to have to be high scoring. But if that's the case, Hurts has to be healthy, right? We can't see Kenny Pickett in this game.
Yeah. And to your point, I don't think that there's ever a scenario, at least only with this Eagles team, right, where if they lose where a coach loses the NFC Championship game, and then the press conferences after are, is this guy going to get fired? right? But that's the reality.
Where
and
we are, right?
Whether that's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. That's just how it works in Philadelphia with Nick Sirianni. Because if they don't win this game as, touchdown essential favorites at home against a division rival, and they lose, well, Sirianni is going to be, they need to get rid of him. And that remains to be seen. But to your point, this game, I agree. I think that that's a way, again, if you're teasing it, you want, like the Commanders, you want to take the over. If you like the Eagles, you want to go with the under, which I like, again, because I do like the Eagles to win, to cover. I like the under at 47.5 points. That's kind of where games have trended for the last 5 Eagles games at home. I know last week went over, but snow does weird things to games.
Snovers.
Right? Exactly. Snovers, right? I know we all look at snow like, it's going to, but, they really go over more than they go under. Really, it's different from playing in the rain, different from playing in windy conditions. But again, I would lean towards the under, especially at 47.5. I mean, games have averaged 41.5 points at Philadelphia this year. That's why obviously you tease it down to that exact number.
Yep. And gone. And it's 41.5. I went over, but so I need 42 to fall on that. But I think one thing I'm looking for really is how quickly will the Commanders look to run their offense? Like, are they going to go tempo up against the Eagles the way they went tempo with the Lions? And that was indoors. Okay. So that's a very easy place to do that. You don't have to worry about the football. This is outdoors. This is cold, but it's a divisional game. What makes this so unique is that this team plays in Philadelphia every year. It's not like they're going to be going like, okay, we got to go to Philadelphia. Not sure how those fans are going to be. They know what they're walking into. And Jaden Daniels already played in this building. He knows what to expect out of these out of these fans, out of this environment. So can they get the plays in quickly? Can they go and run their offense the way they run their offense? And then what does Eckler and Robinson do today? Because I feel like if you're a Commanders fan, doesn't it have to be an Austin Eckler game, both running and catching the football, if their offense is going to be effective?
I think so. I think that trying to run Brian Robinson into the defensive line probably isn't going to work. I mean, Austin Eckler has been really dynamic this year. Look, last year, it's hard to totally forget what he did this last year with the Chargers because he was terrible, but it was because he was really injured. Like he was totally banged up, was not himself. But this year, he's looked back to form when we were taking this guy in top 5 in fantasy football drafts. Like it was Austin Eckler's show as a rusher and receiver. And so that ties into one of my favorite props is Austin Eckler going over 50 rushing and combined rushing and receiving yards. So he's done this in 11 of 14 games played this season, 79%. And he's particularly more involved in games where you're looking at the Commanders as underdogs or playing on the road. As an underdog, 6-0 towards the over, 50 rushing and receiving combined yards. On the road, 7-1 towards 50 plus rushing and receiving yards from scrimmage. So earlier in the week, this normal prop was around 45.5. You were able to alt it up to 50 at plus money at some books. So shop around. But yes, I'm very much in on the Austin Eckler. And because it's rushing and receiving, no matter how this game script goes, whether the Commanders are trying to catch up in the second half, whether they're trying to build a lead, I think Eckler's going to be involved throughout the total game. So I'm really high on him and his rushing and receiving yards from scrimmage prop.
Yeah, I think we're going to see if the Commanders can move the football. I think Eckler is going to be a big reason why. I like the Eckler prop a lot. I like Eckler to score. It's a good 3-1. Eckler to score. I like him more in the passing game, catching more than 2 balls. I mean, looking for an extra prop, I think you can get him. It's really expensive. Over 2.5 receptions, it's minus 200, which I don't understand. Just put the thing at 3. Like, I know the books don't like to wind up having to return money, but like 3 is the number. And he would have had 3. I bet it last week. He would have had 3. It was just a miss. It was just a pass that came over the top that he would have had 3 receptions. So I think Eckler over 2.5 receptions. Eckler, like you mentioned, for yardage. Eckler scored touchdown. I think if you like the Commanders, I think you have to like Austin Eckler to be a really big part of this offense. You have an AJ Brown jersey behind you. What do you make of AJ Brown's movement, and what do you make of his day to day? Because they can win without him. We've proven it. We've seen it. They don't need AJ Brown to have a big day. But everyone's saying he's going to New England. Everyone's saying he's going to play for the Patriots because he hates everyone on that roster. He hates the quarterback. He hates the coach. Do they try to get him the football today?
Well, that would be asked Mike Mayer. He came at me when I even threw out the idea on X about AJ Brown potentially being a New England Patriot. So that remains to be seen. I think with AJ Brown, man, it's very. I think he's going to have his opportunity to potentially, have a big play here. You look at the way that things are with the projected cornerback matchup against Marshawn Lattimore when these guys met the last time. AJ Brown had like 18 targets in that game. So I'm under the impression that, yes, he's going to catch shadow coverage again from Lattimore. That's going to be a dogfight between those two guys. But whether it's AJ Brown wins a deep ball, because I think that they're going to try to leave him on an island, and Jalen Hurts is going to have to take a shot. Like, hey, Brown, make a play. So whether it's he makes a big play down the sideline, catches a ball in the red zone, or even picks up a defensive pass interference call. Like, Lattimore gets really handsy. And he had 3 defensive pass interference. Like, it would not surprise me if Brown draws more pass interferences than catches that he actually has in this game. Like, that could potentially be in the range of outcomes. But ultimately, I think Brown probably helps the Eagles win, less so on what he actually does. I think I would lean towards his receiving yards. I know it's actually been bet up, so people are definitely drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to AJ Brown bouncing back here. I'm a little more hesitant on it. I opened the week a little bit more optimistic, but especially if the Lions move, I don't think the value is really there anymore. I think he has to get it done with yards because Lattimore's going to be on him. And that's going to be a fight. So if anything, it might mean things are really open for guys like Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith, who already have lower receiving yards and receptions props. Who's going to be covering Devontae Smith? So that might be the better way to look at it and kind of just let AJ Brown, let him kind of do his thing with Lattimore. Look at some of these other Eagles receivers.
Give me a score before we move on to the Bills and the Chiefs here, because I'm trying, as I said, I'm taking a shot. I think it's 27-20 or 30-20. I think the Commanders will score 20 points today. Everyone's saying that no, they're going to be held under 20 points. I think they get to 20, but I like the Eagles to win, Eagles to cover, but I think you can tease it up to plus 12 and go over.
I guess for me, because I like the under in the game, like the Eagles to cover, I'll go 24-17. Eagles.
It's not horrible. Who makes the big mistake? Which team?
I think it's going to be the Commanders.
Is it Daniels?
Honestly, I think it's going to be one of these other guys. Brian Robinson. What did he do the last time he played the Eagles? Fumble twice. What were they doing with Kyron Williams? They were punching the ball out, man. Like they know they're going to be out for blood trying to get the ball. Like, because they know Daniels is probably not going to be the guy that makes the big mistake.
Right.
So they need to make a mistake with one of these other players. Like I said, like Zacchaeus, Diami Brown. Like, yes, these guys have been showing out in bigger moments, but is this moment going to be too big for them? We know it's not too big for Jaden Daniels. Like, clearly, like nothing phases this guy. He lives, he lives his life in 2x speed, right? So everything is slowed down. But what about the 10 other guys? What about the offensive line? You have a backup playing against Jalen Carter, right? So I don't think it's going to even be Daniels' fault necessarily that they lose this game. And it's going to be the supporting cast where it's like, man, if they just had that one extra piece, maybe they could have gone over the top. But again, if you're a Commanders fan, like you're obviously thrilled about this season and that you made it this far and everything's up because you're going to get better next year. So
we've never seen a rookie start in the Super Bowl. I think that trend continues today. I don't think we'll see it. Look, if Washington makes it, that's fine. Just make sure you score points today. Like, don't have this be like a 17-14 game and then win and beat the Eagles. And then I lose both bets. That's not how I want to see it. Like, I want to be down with that. Before we get to the AFC Championship game, guys, maximize your prop betting success with the BettingPros prop bet cheat sheet. Instantly compare sportsbook lines with expert projections to find the best value. Customize your bets by filtering props by matchup, odds, bet type, and ensure you only see the most profitable opportunities. Get tailored recommendations and track winning trends with ease with this comprehensive tool. Take your prop betting to the next level at bettingpros.com/props or in the BettingPros sports betting app. I will give a little shout out to the prop bet cheat sheet. And overall, just when you go to the website, I think one of the more unique things that we've got on the website that is really, others do it too, but the way we have laid out the prop bet, where you have all the different markets with all the different books and the lines that they have, I spend more time on that than really anything else on the website because I love to be able to shop between different prices. I'm price sensitive. I care about numbers. I care about price. So to me, the chance of looking at, the Travis Kelce stuff, we'll get to it here in this game, like Travis Kelce numbers. Some books are at 68.5. Some books are at 71.5. That's a gigantic difference. And if you're somebody who likes to arb, that's your arb right there. I mean, if he falls and gets 70, you hit both bets. So you have arb opportunities just because you're looking at the entire field and not just what you're looking at from an odds board perspective. Like most of us know where odds boards are, and we compare 8, 9, 10 different books. Prop betting odds boards are different, and normally you have to pay for that. So it's pretty neat to go in there and check a look at. When you have a free trial of the app or free trial of the website, I really recommend you guys go and check that out because it is very, very cool that you can see different prices on prop bets. Okay, AFC Championship game, the big boy, the daddy. The Bills cannot beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. This is the narrative that we're running with here on this. In order for Buffalo to do this, what has to happen, Andrew?
They need to dominate. They cannot go into this game and think, oh, like we'll play the Chiefs close and we'll win.
Amen.
That doesn't work for anybody.
Nope.
If you've watched the Chiefs this year, the Bills know this. If it's a close game, they're going to lose. Nothing is on their side. Again, I'm not going to get into the refs thing, but just whatever.
Why? We should.
Okay.
Warren Sharp pulled it out. 11 playoff games so far for the KC Chiefs under Patrick Mahomes. They have never had more yards on them in a playoff game. It's 10-0-1. That's not calling out bias. That's just calling out a fact. They've never had more yards, more penalty yards than their opponent in a playoff game under Mahomes.
I rest my case.
I mean, again, if you go and look at it, Warren Sharp did a great job. He'd said like, well, maybe it's Andy Reid, right? Oh, it's Andy Reid. In the regular season, it's not dramatically different. It's a little different. They have more games. They have a couple more games, but it's not dramatically different. And Clete Blakeman look, I know Clete. I've known him for years. I've known him since 2004. I've known him for 21 years. He is the head referee of this game. Clete Blakeman is a Chief fan. I'm not saying he's going to call the game for the Chiefs, but he just instinctively, you want to play psychologically, grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. He's a lawyer in Omaha. He's a Chief fan. He also is the guy who's been on the field for 5 of Mahomes' losses, the most of any referee in the NFL. So there might be a little reverse correlation going on saying, well, shoot, I got to make sure that no one's going to call me biased. So I've got to flag Mahomes more and flag the Chiefs more. You can't play it. I'm not saying it's just an interesting narrative because I think, if you're asking me, I think the Chiefs are getting no calls today.
Regardless, Buffalo cannot rest on the fact that they will get anything in their favor playing on the road, right? If you're being a smart team, look at one team that the Bills won against the Chiefs earlier this year. Again, we know that they always beat them in the regular season when it doesn't matter, but they won by 2 scores. Yeah. It was a 9-point victory. That's how you beat the Chiefs. Yep. Not playing a close game. You have to dominate them. You need to win by 2 scores. The only way the Bills can feel like we have a shot at winning, we're up by 10 points in the fourth quarter. Not up by 7, not up by 3, not up by 6. You need to be up by 2 scores. And how do you do that? You be aggressive on offense. So I don't think we're going to see as much of this, okay, we're going to be super run heavy. Not to say that they can't run the ball effectively, but when they've played on the road, the last 4 road games, Josh Allen has over 280 passing yards. Like, don't forget what this team does with its identity when it's away from Buffalo, when it doesn't have, okay, we can play at home, we can play defense, we can run the football. You put up 30 on the Chiefs. Make them score 30 on you. Because that's the one thing that they have not shown this year. They scored 30 against the Buccaneers. It took them overtime to get there. So that's the way I see Buffalo actually going in here. You need to stomp the Chiefs. Like, you need to be like, no, we're not playing close game. Like, we're going to dominate you. Now, do I think that actually happens? No. But what I'm saying is that's the path of victory for Buffalo. So one of my props in this game is Buffalo team total over 23.5 points because I think that they have to score.
I'm with you. It's the only way. It literally is the only way that they're able to be in this game. I know it's kind of a dumb thing, like win by outscoring your opponent, but you have to be able to put the Chiefs in a position of being uncomfortable where they got to press and they got to throw the ball down the field and they got to score quickly. Can they? Of course they can. It's the Chiefs at home. Of course they're capable of scoring quickly. But you mentioned the domination in the first matchup. The Bills just took the football and ran the ball down their throat, took the football and moved the ball at will and just went in there. And they're at home. Okay, so they're more comfortable. But Josh Allen, look, you guys, you know me as a guy from Boston, so I'm going to make a Boston analogy. But this feels like either 2003 or 2004 Red Sox Yankees. Which one will it be? If the Chiefs win, it's 2003 Red Sox fans were so sick and tired of consistently losing over and over again. And I don't know who plays the part of Grady Little. Maybe it winds up being Sean McDermott. Makes a boneheaded play, and we're like, oh my God, how did you do that? Or it's 0-4, and you get through, and the Super Bowl becomes an afterthought. If the Bills win this game, the Bills win it all. Like, I don't care who they play on the other side. Buffalo's going to go there, and it could be Washington. I made the analogy that it could be Bills up against the Commanders, because that would be in New Orleans, like 85, and it's going to be I think the Bills would kill the Commanders personally. And so you'd have a big win there for maybe not 45-10, but you have a big win for the Buffalo Bills. I really think this is if they can't win this game, I'm not sure they will ever beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Like, this is so everything, stars aligning, like this, Josh Allen MVP, like everything is aligning here for the Bills to win this game. The Chiefs offense is pedestrian at times. Their defense can be had at times. I just want a couple of things to happen. And I know you don't want to talk about the refs, but I just want a couple of things. Jawan Taylor's got to be flagged every time he lines up offsides and every time he comes off the ball fast. Okay. He has to. It has to happen. It cannot be allowed. It must be done. And there must be holding calls on both sides. There must be holding calls. You can't just stick the flag in the pocket and go, it's a championship game. No worries. Like, we have two quarterbacks who are going to move around and who are going to run in both offensive lines, hold all the time. Call the game the way the game is supposed to be called. Like, those are the two things that I very much want to see in this. You can't allow a left tackle or right tackle, wherever they put Taylor, and hide him. You can't allow him to line up offsides every time and then get off early every single time, because that is just, it's cheating. You can't even say it's bending the rules. It's not even bending the rules. It's cheating that they were allowed to do. So let's make this game, call it clean, call it straight up, and then let the best team win and let the best players go and decide it. It's been Kansas City every time so far. Is it Buffalo's year?
Man, so it's funny that you brought up the Red Sox as your kind of analogy when you're looking at it. And to me, the game I keep thinking about when it comes to this team owes this team in the playoffs, I think Brady versus Manning, right? Yeah. Every year comes in Gillette, gets destroyed, doesn't matter. The one time they play at home, right? They play in the RCA Dome, I think it was, and the Patriots are up 21-3 at half. And the Colts are like, what's happening? Like, this was our year. And then they're falling apart. And then they obviously came back to win that game.
At home.
So that is a little bit different. But is this a scenario where you could see one of these teams really, does Buffalo jump out to a big lead? And can the Chiefs come back? I'm trying to look at this from like a live betting perspective, because I don't want to be the Chiefs money line, right? So,
because I'm doing the same thing that I did with the first game. So I'm taking Chiefs money line. I changed this, and I forgot to tell Sal. It's going to say -2, but I changed it on the juice to money line and didn't. I'm not going to lay the 2. I'm going to lay money line because it's only -125, so it's not expensive. So I did Chiefs money line, and then I teased it to 8, and then I went up to 54.5 and went under. Chief games at home have been consistently going under, and we just don't see a lot of high scoring games in Arrowhead, in particular when the weather gets poor. So 52, 53, and 54 are key numbers for totals. So I'm going all the way over all of that. So I'm not only crossing 3 and crossing 7, but I'm crossing 52, 53, and 54 and going 54.5 and going under in this game. And I think that we're going to see both defenses have a moment here. But again, I'm also playing the narrative that I have Kelce over his reception yards, because I'm done trying to say that Travis Kelce is not going to do stuff in the playoffs. I'm done saying that he's not going to have 75 yards and a touchdown. Like, you just got to pencil that in with Travis Kelce today, where he's going to have 70 yards and a touchdown. No?
I mean, he's done 14 straight postseason games. He's had 70 receiving yards. It's so funny how that's the exact prop. Basically, like you said, like at 70 receiver. I know it's a little bit different, a couple different books.
I got 68.5, but yes, I mean, it's pretty much 70.
Yeah, that's like and again, it's way different than last week's too, right? It really, and if we're really being honest, I mean, he got a ton of yards on a bunch of missed tackles. Yep.
That's all you need. When it's that low, it's all you need.
But it's not like
the Bills
Travis
aren't
Kelce,
great. The Bills aren't great though at stopping tight ends, Andrew. They've been known to give up yards at tight ends.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not taking the under on Kelce.
Right.
I cannot bet it at all if I want to, but I'm not going to take the under on a guy who's just been a postseason machine. So I do like a couple of the other Chiefs receivers when it comes to props, but Yeah, I think that the only thing that I get concerned about, like, I know you said you teased the total up to 54.5.
Yep.
I mean, if Buffalo comes out aggressive, I feel I don't feel smart betting against Mahomes and Josh Allen to score points. Like,
Right.
if they're both locked and dialed in, I am concerned about that because they're both two MVP quarterbacks and we both play a high level. They get the best out of each other. Haven't Bills and Chiefs games gone over? I think that's the trend. I believe.
Yeah, but 28. I think it's like 28-24. Like, you get somewhere in that range. Again, 52,
Yeah.
53, 54, right? So, like, games that get over 54 points, I mean, that's high. And the books are already telling you that, like, we don't think this thing gets into the 50s. But if it does, it may get into the lower 50s. You're absolutely right. I mean, you could, if you feel uncomfortable by that, and if you like that, just pull it down and go over. I don't mind that at all. To sit there and say, pull it down and go over. I just hate sitting there watching playoff games, playing for points and praying for points, because I always feel like coaches are going to be super conservative and they're just trying to win the game. They're just trying to bleed the clock and get the hell out of there with a win. And so I feel like playoff games are always shortened, and it's harder unless you're having pick sixes and punt returns and kick returns for touchdowns. You need something fluky to get that level of scoring, in my mind. So I feel more comfortable going up to 54.5 and going under.
Yeah.
But
Either
yes,
way.
I could go 0-4 today. There's absolutely no debate. There are easy scenarios in which I go 0-4. Bills win the game goes flying over, or the Commanders win the game and the game goes ridiculously under. Like, there are scenarios in which I can lose, but someone said it in the chat that the books are are really excited about this because of how often people are betting the dogs. I think that's a decent read. I think everyone thinks it's going to be Bills Commanders, or at least cover Bills Commanders. I don't know.
So just last point on just the sides here. So let's say, again, going to the scenarios, go to halftime, Bills are up by 2 touchdowns. Are we betting Chiefs money line?
Everybody in the world's betting Chiefs money line.
Okay.
I mean, the books are going to play defense. You may only get like plus 120 on that. Like, it's going to be stupid. Like, the books aren't going to give you a price that's going to be ridiculous on that, because everybody and their mother, even if you bet the Bills money line, you're going to take the other side of that just because you have to. Like, you'd be stupid not to come in and bet this. I mean, yes. I mean, you would be dumb not to do that, to come in and take that. But on the same level, like, you could sit there, if the Chiefs get up and they're up 21-3, and you and I have Bills money line, or have Chiefs money line, it's not a horrible idea to bet Bills money line. To take the plus 300 on that to see what happens with the Bills, and if they have some historic crazy comeback and they can run it back and make something impressive. So I think that there's a lot of different in-game opportunities with this, because look, I'm a narrative person. I'm a trend better. I'm a narrative better. And call me idiot, call me a stupid, call me a square. I don't care. They want Taylor Swift in New Orleans. Like, they have you look at the numbers for the playoffs over the last couple of weeks. Don't tell me the NFL is not concerned about this right now. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do anything or thumb on the scale or anything, but I think gun ahead of Roger Goodell, they need some help here. They're concerned about the numbers. The Bills and the Ravens game was down 12%. That game was supposed to be epic. That game was down from the previous year in that same very window. So it's turning into a little bit where it's like, are the Chiefs playing? No? Oh, okay. We're going to watch something else. And that's a problem for the NFL, because people are looking for Travis and Taylor and the crowd shots and every other nonsense thing that goes into it. You'll see it on social media today. People are like, what time is Taylor playing? Like, they don't care about the Chiefs. They just care about Taylor Swift being there.
What about Haley Steinfeld, right?
Well, fine, but she doesn't show up. Is she going to be there? Like, I need her in the same spot. I need her in the box. I need her in the same luxury suite, right in front center, so so the camera can easily find her, and then I'm down with it. Let's go. But so far, she stayed away, and she's allowed her boyfriend, or fiance now, to go ahead and play football and be in the shadows. That's not what Taylor does. And I like Taylor Swift, but like, she's just like front and center, and she's like, I'm here with my entourage and all my people, so put me on TV, NFL, so I'm getting paid. Like, that's why in the beginning part of that whole relationship, I was like, it's a PR thing. Because what girlfriend does this? What famous girlfriend puts herself right there in front to be seen by everybody? all the time. Like she wants the cameras on her at
with
these
Caitlin
games.
Clark, no less. With Caitlin
Right.
Clark.
Now she's bringing in Caitlin Clark. She's bringing in even more star power for herself on all this stuff. So it looks very calculated. It looks very controlled, which is typical Taylor. But I think for today, I hate the Chiefs. I've hated the Chiefs for a very long time, but but people forget this. My hatred of the Chiefs dates back before Patrick Mahomes ever became a Chief. So like, I worked in Kansas City. I talked to these people on the radio. Like I was offered a job in KC 2 different times, and literally, money was a bigger reason why. But partly was like, do I want to talk to these people every day? Not really. So I decided not to go to Kansas City to go work for 610 Sports, which is now the home of the Chiefs. They've gone FM, but it was the home of the Chiefs. So like, I look at this game and I'm so biased, but I gotta cheer for the Bills, which is really hard for me to do this. To go like.
Well, that's why Bills team total. That's what you do. You get the points, get out.
Right? Yeah. Have them score and get out. But I mean, that 23.5 is a really good number because I think you might get over by half a point. They may score 24.
I mean,
like
I think it's 79% of their games they've had 24 points at least. And like I said, like if they want to win this game, it has to be a beatdown. Like they need to show the Chiefs, like, no, we're not here to let's keep it close because you'll lose. Every game
you got to Hulk smash them. I agree. You got to Hulk smash them, beat them to no question. So no one's wondering.
Yes, it's like this call, that call. No, like leave it up to no to make it no choice of it was because you're gonna get a scenario like last week, right? Where like the Ravens lost because Mark Andrews dropped 2 because of that one play. It's like Bills. Don't leave it up to one play. Dominate.
Fine, but I'm okay with the Mark Andrews fumble and the Mark Andrews dropping of a 2-point play. I'm okay with that narrative. I'm okay with that conversation Monday morning. I can't handle a conversation on Monday morning about a holding call or a defensive pass interference call in the end zone. I can't handle if the referees are the reason and we have to talk about the refs for 2 weeks going into the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs win, please win the damn game. Like just not, and on the flip side, it can't be a call not made on top of that. Like I can't stand if it should have been defensive pass interference and it wasn't called and the Bills are driving and the Bills don't get the call. Like I just cannot have that conversation. So I want to blow out on one side. Chiefs win by 20, Bills win by 20. Like just somebody killed the other one. So there's no debate and we're not talking about which team was better. And that's why this game is going to be decided by a field goal. This is a field goal kick game.
And that means the Chiefs are going to win. If it's a field goal game, they got Butker. He's going to come in. I mean, also Bass, man. I don't love Bass necessarily. Like he's been much shakier as a kicker this year compared to Butker. And Butker's been clutch. A kick.
Yeah, 27-24 is the number that I have for Chiefs. Chiefs win 27-24.
I like it. Yeah.
Money line.
That goes over 48.5. Yeah.
It stays under 54.5.
We all win. That's what we want.
All teasers, all 4-way teasers win. Comes in. That's a nightmare for the books. 27-24 is a nightmare for the books, but that's where I think the game falls. Chiefs win 27-24. Eagles win 27-20 or 30-20, somewhere in that range. And we're dealing with an Eagles-Chiefs rematch of the Super Bowl. I almost brought that hat out from when I covered it 2 years ago. Are we going to be dealing with this? Is it Eagles-Chiefs heading to New Orleans?
So I think so. I mean, if you look at the logo, like it's got Chiefs and Eagles colors. So
oh no, are we back on that thing? The logo.
You don't see that all over social media. It's like half the stuff I always see is like, oh, here we go again. So
wait, so there's no Commander red in it at all?
I mean, no, not a burgundy. No, it's definitely more like a Chiefs red, not a burgundy.
It's a Chiefs red. Okay, yeah. not a burgundy.
There's like I think it's green.
Is there any purple in it at all?
No. So
for New Orleans. Wow.
There's no purple. There's not. I think there's a little bit of like yellow because like the gold, but it's weird because like they couldn't like take the Saints logo, even though I had to use parts of it because obviously it's like New Orleans, but they couldn't.
Gold and purple is New Orleans colors.
Yeah, but they couldn't use that. They use that as much. Well, obviously they were like, well, the Ravens aren't going to make it, so we can't have purple. So
yeah, I mean, look, For Josh Allen, if he loses this game, we'll put a finish touch on this. If Josh Allen loses this game, what happens? Where does his legacy go?
Unfortunately, goes to all those other quarterbacks that played when Tom Brady played. It's like
because that's my point. That's what I was going with this. Because Ben Roethlisberger won championships during that Brady era.
He won once when Brady tore his ACL.
Manning won. Manning won a Super Bowl in the Tom Brady era.
He was the one to do it. He was the one to do it.
So is Manning? Is Josh Allen?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure because I think Lamar is more like Manning. Lamar wins all the MVPs. Like, I don't know if Josh Allen's winning MVP this year. I mean, I
Yes, he
looked at
is.
Lamar. Lamar threw 41 touchdowns and 4 picks.
Have you seen the betting markets? It's like,
I thought, didn't Lamar win unanimous All-Pro quarterback? Isn't that the same
but
people?
normally you lose.
Are
That
they the same
normally.
voters that do MVP?
Yes and no.
I thought it was much closer. I mean, I don't know. I looked at some of the numbers. I was like, this should be close.
Oh,
but,
they pulled the market down for MVP.
Yeah, because they finished voting, so
they pulled it down because the last time I checked before the AFC Championship game, it was ridiculous. Josh Allen was minus 500, and it was like plus 200 for Lamar because the theory is that the voters are tired of giving it to Lamar. He's won it 2 times already, and so give it to Josh Allen.
I mean,
it's his time.
His touchdown interception ratio was like 10 to 1. It was something like, it was 41 touchdowns, 4 picks. This is crazy.
And also what's funny, the other stat is that the only MVP to win the Super Bowl, or I think make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl in the last 20 years is Mahomes. So like didn't
he lose?
I thought he Lamar. Lost. It's cursed. The MVP is a cursed award. You don't want the MVP. You don't want it.
Oh yeah.
It means you're not winning the championship. So like if you're a Bills fan, you want Lamar to win it. Like give it to Lamar. So then you can,
especially because we find out the day before the Super Bowl who actually wins MVP.
So. NFL honors, they've done that whole thing, the whole song and dance that comes with that type of thing. All right, on the way out, let's run down your card, Andrew. What do you like today?
Yep. So going to the sides, taking the Eagles -6, Chiefs on the money line, not dealing with the points. Again, if it's gonna be a close game, I just want the Chiefs to win. For the totals, I like the under in the Eagles and Commanders game, under 47.5 for the Chiefs and Bills. I like the game total to go over, but specifically just talking about Buffalo, I like them with getting over 23.5 points. Props wise, Austin Eckler going over 49.5 rushing and receiving yards. Shop the best lines. This is a couple different places. You can go over 50, but I like that. 2 of the props I didn't talk about, but in the Chiefs-Bills game, again, expecting points and yards. Xavier Worthy going over 4.5 receptions. He has this number 5+ straight games. He's kind of taken on like the Rashee Rice role from last year where he's getting a lot of underneath catches. He was really heavily involved. He's a big explosive playmaker. So after Kelsey, I mean, he's really the most consistent Chiefs wide receiver. So I like Xavier Worthy over 4.5 receptions. And then from the Bills hodgepodge of wideouts, I'm going with Keon Coleman. So another rookie wide receiver going over 19.5 receiving yards. So going back to looking at the Bills on the road, they've thrown the ball much more in their road games, so they're being more aggressive. Keon Coleman, 6 straight road games, over 26.5 receiving yards in each road game. He's a big play threat, so I like him to go over 20.5 receiving or 19.5 receiving yards. It's a low bar to pass, and I think that he'll be involved again. He runs the second most routes, plays the second most snaps behind only Khalil Shakir, and they're going to give him opportunities. He's a contested catch guy. I also like his anytime touchdown odds as well.
Very nice. Some late movement in case you guys are interested in such a thing. So obviously we're about 3 hours from kickoff, 2 hours from kickoff. The money's coming in on the under. We're seeing movement to 46.5 on the Philly Washington game now. So that number is going down, and the money is coming in on the over 49.5. Circa now is up to 49.5 on the Bills and the Chiefs game. So if you're going to tease that up, you're going to get a much better number. You're going to get 55.5 at Circa. Superbook's at 49. DraftKings is still at 48.5. So there's a full point discrepancy in the market right now. If you have access to Circa, like in Illinois, you could actually arb that if you want with DraftKings and Circa. 48.5 and 49.5. You normally don't see that. Offshore is at 49 and 49.5. It gets you curious. So DK is off market for whatever reason. So we'll see how long that lasts. But my guess is DraftKings will probably get hit some point in the very near future. All right, for me, I'm taking shots, and this is because I've had a very good season in the NFL. So this is the last day of having multiple football games. So I'm taking shots. Eagles laying the 6. I think they win the game by 7, like we talked about. Chiefs money line. Thank you thanks you, Sal. He fixed that. That's great. Thank you. Chiefs money line. I additionally thought about doing -2, but now just do money line -125. The price on that shouldn't have moved at most books. You can shop that. South Point's at 125. DraftKings is at 125. A couple of offshores are at 120 even. You can get a better price than that for that. But then on the other side, as sort of trying to thread the needle, Commanders to 12 and then to go over 41.5. I think there's going to be more scoring than people think. I think it's a 24-20, 27-20 type of final here for this. And so I like the over 41.5 between these two teams. I do think turnovers will play a factor in this game, maybe for the Commanders, but I do think we get a little more scoring than people think. Maybe not 47 points, but I do think we get over 41.5. On the flip side, the Bills take the 2 and go up to 8 and then under 54.5. Again, going against that sentiment that everyone thinks that it's going to be a high scoring game. I tend to zig when the public is zagging. Everyone thinks these teams are going to score a lot. If they do, I'm dead. But I think we're going to go with the under 54.5. That's still a pretty big number. How do you do a teaser bet? Seth, hold on a second. I'll explain to you here in a second on that. Prop bets. I'm just going to stop betting against Kelsey and stop thinking he's not going to do a lot. Kelsey over 68.5 yards receiving. I'm done betting against the streak or saying the streak's not going to continue. Just ride the wave. I'm coming in late. Probably means I lose, but 14 straight is 14 straight. I think James Cook is not going to get the football that much. I think Josh Allen's going to be throwing the ball a lot today. I think they'll have much more success throwing the ball than running the ball. So I think James Cook goes under 14.5 rushing attempts, not yards, but rushing attempts. Jaden Daniels under 55.5 yards rushing. Again, these are a lot of contrarian plays. I'm going with the under. Everyone likes the over. I think they're going to have a spy on him and really not let him hurt the Eagles defense running the football with his legs. And then I think Terry McLaurin has 1 or 2 big catches to go over 61.5 receiving yards. I know, again, everyone's saying that they're going to take him away and they're going to isolate him, but I need a contested catch and a couple of big ones for Terry McLaurin down the field. If the Commanders are going to win this game, Terry McLaurin must be a big weapon here in this offense for the Commanders. So, Seth, quickly on the way out, let me explain. You got to go, if you're using DraftKings, it's actually right there on the, if you load up the bet, right? You just hit +1, +2, and then say under. You then go down there, there'll be a teaser button. You hit the teaser button and it will automatically move it for you. Other books will allow you just to go into a teaser window where you hit the total, hit the side, and then it'll say teaser. And you hit teaser and it'll ask you which direction you want to wind up going. So each book's app is going to have different ways of doing it, but just take your time and looking. The other way of doing it is under alt. You can parlay the alt numbers. It should be a similar price by going under the alt. Instead of -2 of the Chiefs, it could be +2 for the Chiefs or +4 for the Chiefs or +8 for the Bills. And then parlay it up with the total and alt total as well. And that's a way of kind of manually doing a teaser as well on that. You can DM me too if you have any questions on the Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat. I'll try to walk you through it. My friend, it's me, you, in 2 weeks, along with Pat Fitzmaurice. We'll do a Super Bowl version of this coming up here. Enjoy the game. Any food on the menu? Any drinks on the menu?
For today's games?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll see what I'm feeling. Maybe I'll dabble into the IPA streets.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Matt, do you have any bowl predictions for today's games? I know you don't get Super Bowl, but anything out of the ordinary?
What do you mean by bowl predictions?
I don't know, like something fun, something off the cuff, long shot. Come on.
I don't do this stuff. You know me. I'm not. I bet real money on this stuff, dude. This is what I can't figure out. Like we can't do long shots. So, it's real money. It's real money. I'm not throwing real money at crazy crap. Teasing's worse. It's bad enough. I mean, that's all right. A parlay. It's outside my one.
Well, no. Yes, I have a fun bet.
Okay.
So you can do this one's on FanDuel. So you can do receiver to have the most receiving yards in today's games. So for me, everyone. So whoever is the leading receiver of all the games played. So the favorite or the one with the lowest odds it's AJ Brown at +310 and then Travis Kelce's +500. So my favorite one is Keon Coleman at 31-1 odds. There are 3 receivers that are playing today that have a game with 125 yards this season in a single game. One of them is Keon Coleman. The other is Terry McLaurin. And the other one is Dallas Goedert. Goddard got 170 yards in week 4 when there were other receivers not playing.
Okay.
I don't think he's not going over 125 yards again. Terry, you like Terry this week.
I do. That's
is he going to lead all? So he would be your pick to have the most receiving yards among all the players.
He'd have to have 2 monster catches.
Yep. And then that leaves Keon Coleman. as the only other player that has a 125-yard game on his resume this season in a single game. And he's 31-1. So
he is Andrew Erickson. I'm Matt Perrault. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks for the Super Bowl in New Orleans. We'll see who winds up playing. We'll recap it all. Stay with us here for Betting Pros and the Betting Pros YouTube channel for a lot more content, picks and plays here for the Super Bowl.